been living a keto lifestyle for the past 7 years now and managed to lose a total of 90 pounds, and I've kept it off by creating foods I miss like this keto-friendly apple jam. And if you are needing some help with that, do look through our recipes. We've got over 300 of them. Now about this keto apple jam, I actually use Chayote Squash as my apple substitute because there's only 3.7 net grams of carbs per cup. And because chayote has a very similar taste and texture to apples, it's very easy to make anything apple with them. Now, I wanted to give you lots of options to use your apple jam in, and in this video, aside from the jam, we've got a blender cake that you can flavor with practically anything, and we've got a custard pie that you can have plain or you can change it to a coconut cream pie. We have got more ideas to share with you. We've got a beautiful phyllo pastry that we actually fill with the jam, and we've got a caramel sauce. However, that is going to be in part 2 coming out on Monday. The nutritional information and your shopping list is listed in the description box, and let's get into the recipe now. The star of the show is of course the chayote squash. So do peel yours and finely dice so that it can cook quicker. Now you're going to need 380 grams worth, or one very large chayote squash will give you that amount, and pour that into a saucepan. Next is a pinch of salt, a tablespoon of apple extract, 2 tablespoons of powdered sweetener or allulose, just so that the sweetener can dissolve while you're cooking your apple jelly. And we're using a tablespoon of powdered gelatin to just thicken up this jelly so that it can come together, and sprinkle that in. And to season your jelly, you would add a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, but to take it up a notch, add a teaspoon of pumpkin spice. It's so much nicer. And 1 cup of water. And now we're going to let this simmer over a medium heat, stirring occasionally. You'll need about half an hour to cook your jelly or jam, and you'll see that it has reduced quite a bit in volume. Now, when it cools down, it's going to thicken up nicely, and I love adding a couple of tablespoons of cream just to give it that caramel type flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that now. When you store it without the cream because it will extend the life of the jam, and then when you're about to use it or on the day, add your cream and just stir it in. Also, you can put it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it for 3 months, and do defrost it naturally, and then you're able to use it and it turns out like the day you made it. Set the jam or jelly aside for now, and I want to show you how to use this jam in a vanilla cake. I've got a really quick blender cake recipe for you, and for your blender you will need at least a 700 ml to fit. Obviously this is going to be too small, so I'm just going to whisk it in a bowl. Add 1.5 cups of your CK Almond Flour or pecan flour if you're doing something a little special like with an apple flavored cake to a bowl. 1/2 cup of granulated sweetener, a tablespoon and a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 cup of egg white protein powder. This is optional, but it's going to make your cake rise a little higher. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 3 eggs, 1/3 cup of olive or avocado oil, half cup of heavy whipping cream or heavy cream. You can also use yogurt if you don't want to use heavy cream. And if you are dairy free, you can use coconut cream as well. And finally, a tablespoon of vanilla extract. You can play around with your extracts. You can use almond, or if you want to reinforce this, you can use apple as well. All right, imagine me using a big blender and just blending this all together now. So I'm just going to mix it up. And if you don't have a big blender, you can do it. It's such an easy cake to make. Once your batter has been fully combined, we are going to be using maximum an 8-inch cake tin. I'm using silicone so I don't have to grease and line it, but if you only have a metal one, do grease and line your tin. And then just add it all to your cake tin. You can do this in stages and then layer your jam through so you can get a marbled effect. I'm just using a few tablespoons of the jam to flavor my cake. Let's go with 4 and mix that in. I'm just creating a design on top. I don't know if it's going to show through. Cover with foil. And now that goes into the oven. Wait a sec. Oh, that goes into a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius for a full 30 minutes. In the last 5 minutes, you want to remove your foil so that your top can brown. Back in the oven to brown the top. Oh my. Look at this. Okay, let your cake cool so that it can maintain its shape and enjoy. Just wanted to show you my apple tea cake on the inside, and it's really soft. And I love the little flecks of the apple jam, and it hasn't all sunk to the bottom. Beautiful. As I said, this blender cake recipe, I've added a 1/4 cup of chopped strawberries. You can add other berries. Of course, a jam or a banana jam. I'll leave a link to my banana jam recipe if you want a banana cake. Now, considering the caramel sauce, you can poke holes into your cake and drizzle your caramel sauce over for extra decadence. And you can just have whipped cream, or you can use roasted Chayote Squash slices that have been coated in cinnamon sweetener as a topper. Just ideas. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius and grease a standard pie dish. To a bowl, add 1.5 cups of either almond flour, or you can use your CK Almond Flour as well. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 2 tablespoons of granulated sweetener or the equivalent. And if you want to make a savory pie crust, you're going to leave the sweetener out and add a little bit of onion powder or garlic powder or both. And for the wet ingredients, we need a 1/4 cup of melted butter or oil. Now, what I love about this pie crust is that you don't need to roll out the dough. You're just going to press it into your pie dish. And just mix that all together. If you're using CK Almond Flour, you are going to need to add a 1/4 cup of water. If you're using plain almond flour, you probably won't need the water. I just want to give you an idea of the texture. If you scrunch your dough up like that, it should actually come together. We're not going to bother making a ball as such because we're just going to press it in. If you have measuring cups like this with a flat base, you can actually get some help with it and flatten that into your pie crust. Just going to dock the pie crust to give it some breathing room. And after 7 minutes, my pie crust is ready. When you let your pie crust cool, this extra layer of butter will disappear, but I'm not gonna wait. The easiest and quickest keto custard pie filling starts with 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 teaspoon of gelatin powder. Add to that 3 eggs, a 1/4 cup of sweetener. You want to go with about a teaspoon of vanilla extract and just mix it all together. That's it. Okay, and once it's mixed together, you can decide if you want to leave it plain. You can add things like a little bit of rhubarb. Stick to about 1/3 of a cup. However, because this video is about apple jam or jelly, I'm adding 1/3 cup of the apple jam. And quite simply, pour this entire mixture into your pie crust. Before I pour it in, just do take note at how flaky this crust is going to turn out. Do sprinkle with ground nutmeg. And into the oven it goes. Okay, my pie has been baking for 15 minutes and I just wanted to show you what happens in the oven. The edges of your crust will brown first and you want to prevent that. So before you put it in the oven, do cover it with foil or use a pie surround like this. I will leave a link for you in the description box if you want this. And see, it protects your edges beautifully, but still allowing your middle to cook and brown. So much better than foil. Ultimately, your pie is going to need about 35 minutes to fully bake, and then you're going to let it cool. Custard pie! Okay, it is runny while it's still warm, so we have to let it cool. Patience, Mel. And this is how my apple flavored custard pie turned out. These little flecks here are actually apple jam that I decided to add little bits and pieces in the last 5 minutes of baking. And now let's check out the inside. Oh. So soft and definitely tastes of apple. Gotta try this one, guys. So that was part 1, cake and pie, and we'll see you in part 2 for pastries and sauce. Stay safe and be well.